When you have all this extra energy, you want to release it. And whether you know it or not, you will put all of that like dysregulated energy somewhere because you want to discharge it. So, like, the kids and your husband and everyone around you is like, oh, now I own this energy of dysregulation and chaos and shame and failure. Hi, I'm Jen.
And I'm Suzanne. Okay, so we just took 2 shoots because apparently I could not say my name, Suzanne. But we got it on that take. Friend, today we are talking about when your life starts to kind of slip out of rhythm and things start to pile up. My brain wants to fix everything. And this is kind of how I stopped spiraling and started resetting.
Okay.
So in my house, we kind of live by the 80-20 rule. I'm not sure if it's the 80-20 or the 7-30, but 80% of the time I feel like we're doing pretty well. Like life's going well. We're not perfect by any means. We have ups and downs, but it's not, total chaos and it's not perfect, right? And then 10% of the time, what's that?
So meaning like the 80% is like the routines and the flow and the rhythm and like everybody knows what they're supposed to do for all the things. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like we're meeting the expectations. People are, doing what they need to do, like lunches and homework, turning in assignments. We're going to sports. We're on time, all the things.
Okay.
Right?
And then
there's the 10% where things are going like amazingly. Like, oh my gosh, everything's just really clicking. We're flowing and everyone's fairly happy. And we're just
I love that you said this 10% because most people never talk about like when everything's going awesome. So I love that you acknowledge that sometimes it's just going bitchin'. I don't know another word. Like you're just like, yes, I am crushing it. The fam's crushing it. Like, I mean, we got this together.
Yes. And it's like also enjoying that and it's not only acknowledging it, but enjoying it and being like you said, like, we're freaking crushing it, dude. Like, this is amazing. And then there's the 10% that I think we all talk about more, which is the absolute chaos, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it seems to me that it starts as and when I say chaos, like we're dysregulated, no one's really following through on what they're supposed to be doing. You just start to feel like life is out of control.
It's almost like you can call it a funk or dysregulated or I mean, like everybody has their words, but you're just out of flow.
Yeah.
Everything feels sticky. Like it's just like, what is happening right now?
Yeah. And I feel like it starts with like a slow slide. Like it's generally not, at least in my experience, something where it just happens really fast and pretty soon you're just like, wait, oh my gosh, like it's not acute. Instead, it's okay. Like, for example, you're supposed to have your athletic backpack packed the night before so that you can go right after school. You have everything you need. We're not racing around in the morning. And then the next time, then pretty soon it's like, oh yeah, I forgot to pack it last night. And you're just trying to, go with the flow. Sure, that happens to all of us. And then a couple days later, it's, oh, I don't, I'm packing it last minute. And now I'm frustrated because, I'm packing it last minute. I don't have anything.
I forget
and then
stuff.
It's maybe I forget stuff. And it's just like a slow slide. And like pretty soon, like for us, I'm not making dinners as often. So we're not eating together as a family as often. The house isn't as picked up or as clean. Like that's what I mean, like slow slide. There's nothing that's, when I say chaos, just it feels like just everyone's out of sync. And for a long time, I used to use the word out of control.
No, but it's not out of control.
But it's not out of control.
It feels out of control to your nervous system. Like you're like, oh no.
Correct.
And I think I told you, I said, it's like those times when everyone's just falling out or like, as the kids say, crashing out. Like nothing individually is particularly a big deal.
Yes.
if it was just the one thing during the day or the one or two things during the day. But it's like everybody's got their one or two things and they're becoming patterns instead of the one off, is what
Yep.
I noticed.
Yeah.
Which goes along with your like, it's a slow slide into
Yeah.
chaos. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the more you start to notice it, it feels like it starts to build, right?
For sure. Your
So
bandwidth.
it generally, in my experience, and it just really happened, it's been happening to us.
Yeah.
And that's why I actually was going to do a different episode this morning. And I called you and was like, hey, this just happened. I feel like we all
Yes.
experience it. So we've
Yeah.
had
So
a
what's the
particularly,
story? I was going to
yeah,
say, tell the story.
we've had a particularly difficult, I stated on a prior episode that I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder.
Mhm.
One of my kiddos has been really sick. Like we've just had a lot of health issues in our
Mhm.
family. And
some big news.
big news.
Like lifestyle change news.
True. Yes.
Which is a lot. Okay.
I do have a tendency to minimize.
We'll do that in another episode.
Yes. I minimize so it feels more in control. But
for sure.
And again, that's a whole other episode of just taking it in and accepting what it is. But it's been really hard. And it's one thing when it's your own stuff. It's a whole other when it's your kiddo's stuff.
For sure.
And so there's just been sleep issues. And like, I've recognized when I get dysregulated, I'm tired. I've got brain fog. My attention and focus is not on keeping kind of everyone flowing, which I think a lot of us moms do. We kind of, keep the currents going.
Keep the pace. You keep the pace.
We kind of monitor the kids and monitor making sure things are getting done on time and
For
doing
sure.
them, the little things, right?
Yes. Yes.
And as I've been kind of coming out of that in the last like week or so and finding my footing again, I started to really notice how many things have slid.
How many things are falling out.
And my first reaction is to, and I used to do it all the time, is to basically just do a laundry list of all the things that everyone's doing wrong.
Focus on the negative.
Focus on the negative. I'm going to put my arms around it. And I'm going to fix everything. And I'm going to get my army instructions out.
I hope everyone can see me on the YouTube because it's like a pirate, like, I'm going to fix it all. Like, I can do everything. And it's sarcastic because we all do it.
Yeah.
Again, no shame here, fam.
Nope.
We don't do the shame game up in here. But it's like, what? It sounds so ridiculous if you say it out loud. Like the way you just said it to me, I couldn't help but be sarcastic because it's like so unattainable and so unrealistic.
Yeah.
When you say it out loud.
Yeah. And it generally has the exact opposite effect, right? So as soon as I give my family
on the negative.
Well, and as soon as I give my family their marching orders, right? Like you need to do this and you need to do this and you need, well, one, I'm generally highly emotional in the past when I was doing this.
Yeah.
Two, part of the reason I was emotional is because I felt like my life was out of control. And therefore I start catastrophizing that, of course, if we don't pack a backpack or if they miss a shoe or something like that, they're going to spin out, turn to drugs and die.
Yeah. Obviously.
Because that's normal.
It's normal. Yeah. Yeah.
And so what would happen is I'd overwhelm everyone. Right?
Yeah. Because you take all. Yeah. Because I always say this, like when you have all this extra energy, and this is like something I love to tell people, you want to release it. And whether you know it or not, you will put all of that like dysregulated energy somewhere because you want to discharge it, just like if you know anything about electricity, and I know very little. So like the kids and your husband and everyone around you is like, let me take, now I own this energy of dysregulation and chaos and shame and failure. Because the other thing I was going to say is you feel all these things because of, if you go back to the oh my gosh, I can't even talk, your last episode about sports, which again, we'll see how everything is so intertwined. You have given meaning to that. If your family is in chaos, you have failed. They have failed. Everybody has failed, then catastrophize it. Y'all are failures. Y'all are losers. Everybody's going to die a horrible death with drug abuse and murdering people.
Yeah. Hopefully not murder people, but sure.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, all the crazy stuff. Like, well, how did we even get there? Because of a few days of dysregulation. Realistically, let's just go crazy. Let's call it a whole month of dysregulation, which most of the time moms can't handle that long. But I just wanted to point out that you're like, this is failing. Like, that is your like inner talk. And that's why this huge emotion comes up, is because you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. We need to overhaul.
Yes. Yes. And so I, with the big arm, I will fix this like your super mom.
Yep.
Who has been assigned fixing everything. No, ma'am. So I just wanted to like point out that like it's not just coming out of nowhere. It's like all these things that we've told ourselves for so long. And then when everything, at least for me, when everything goes into like somewhat chaotic, it's like this overwhelming emotion that doesn't even match what's going on. Because if we were to zoom out, you'd be like, okay, we need to get back on packing the athletic bag. Like, it's, maybe 10 different routines that are off. And if you and I were having a conversation, you'd get to that a lot faster because we would take the emotion out of it. And I'd be like, okay, well, what needs to change? And you'd be like, well, this needs to change. And then I'd be like, okay, your problems are solved. Marching orders assigned.
Well, I think too, like, it's that like the frenzy of you create the frenzy, and like you said, and with all of the stories that you're telling yourself, and then because it feels so big, it feels like you need an overhaul. Like you need a big solution to fix what has clearly blown up in your life.
Yeah.
And like I said, I know how I used to treat that. And so when it came up this time, I felt the frenzy, right? Here it comes. You're a failure. Your family's a failure. All the bad things are going to happen.
Yep.
And so I did start making a list. So for me, if I can get things out of my head and onto paper, I can release them. That's something that works really well for me. And so I just started like noting things, or like my husband would be frustrated about something and I started noting things. And I just try to now kind of take a pause, take a breath, kind of take some time to just process, like, are we in emergency here? Or is this my own frenzy that's created this? And by making the list, it helps me slow down. And also what I do is I don't pick I used to just like the minute the kids would do something or my husband would do something that was on like that list, I just blow up. Right? And be like, I can't handle this anymore. What are you doing? You know what the rule is, and basically get after them. And here we go. Took all my emotion and said, oh, here you go. You take it. And now they're even more dysregulated and more overwhelmed. Instead, I just sat there and like think about it, and I just would let it happen. So for example, my husband and I talked yesterday and I said, hey, this weekend, I think we need to sit down. We've kind of gotten out of sync here. And I think we need a reset.
Yeah.
Reset, not overhaul, reset.
Reset.
Right?
Yeah. We already know what to do.
Yes. But this is what is so hard, right? So this morning, and the reason I brought up the athletic bag and the reason that we're doing this story right now is I checked last night and I see my son has not packed his athletic bag, right? And I thought to myself this morning, Suzanne, just tell him, because like, you don't want to have a bad morning because of this. And I'm like, no. This is not your responsibility. He knows what the deal is, and you don't have to address it this morning, but just let it be. So here I am. So now he's sitting. Yep. So now he's sitting
older son, by the way.
Yeah. So now he's sitting and eating.
Age appropriate.
Yes. So he's eating breakfast, he's taking his time. I'm watching the clock. I know we have to record our podcast. And No athletic bag, no athletic bag. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go get in the car. He gets in the car and he's like, oh my gosh. Oh, you just need to, I forgot my athletic bag. But you need to bring it. I'm like, no. So now he zooms in the house and he's busting around. And right, of course, my other son has put his Nerf guns on top of his backpack. So he rips that out and he's yelling. He's like, oh my gosh, he never puts anything away. Because at this point, we're in full victim mode. Mom, you never help me with anything. You know, the whole thing, right? And
Blame
it's
game.
the blame game. And it's taking everything in my body not to scream back and be like, no, you're supposed to do this at night. And I was like, no, Suzanne. So I took a breath, and in my head, I was actually pretty calm. Like at first I wanted to scream back, and then I reminded myself, Suzanne, that's not helpful. Like, you are going to address this tomorrow or this weekend. Like, let it ride. He's just upset with himself right now. You know this. So anyways, we're driving the way to school. He's just at me the whole time. We get to school and he looks over at me and he's like, you didn't say anything all right. I was like, did you want me to say something? You just seemed pretty upset. He's like, I should have packed my bag last night. And I was like, hmm. So he gets out of the car and I just drove home thinking, and Suzanne, this is what's so different. Like, now you gave him an opportunity to think about himself. Like, you didn't take your energy and put it on him. And you didn't accept his energy of being, just dysregulated and upset. You're still going to address it. I'm going to look at that list of things and say, is there anything that we need to really deal with now? And then there's maybe some things like school's out in a month. So there's some things that maybe just aren't that important right now. And now I get to like sit down and have like basically a family meeting, right? Because we'll have a conversation,
of course,
and talk about things. And now we're having our reset in a healthy manner. My nervous system is like, okay, we're okay. Like, we're still a little nervous. We don't love that everything feels not great right now, but you're going to get it back together. Your family is going to get it back together, and you feel pretty good about it. And now you've got further evidence that you can go from a difficult season where feeling like you need an overhaul. Like, I'm not sure that's ever going to go away or not. I hope it will, and that it will lessen with time. But I do know that the come down from that is so much less. And it's like, hey, and I kept saying in my brain, reset. This is about a reset, Suzanne.
And I would like to point out, and I would like to point out, he learned a valuable lesson, kind of going back to some of your other talks about letting the other people in the family learn why it's so important to do these routines while they feel annoying and you don't want to, and you fall out and you do all the things like we all do it, right?
Sure.
I mean, everyone can think of something right this minute that they should be doing and didn't do today because they just didn't feel like it. But then he actually got to see the real consequence. You let him have the full meltdown, scream at everybody. And guess what? At the end of the day, he still realized it was his fault, like his responsibility.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're going to address, now you have a perfect example of now when you discuss it with him this weekend, like, hey, we have to pack the athletic bag because of X, Y, and Z. I hope you can see from today why it's so important and how much better your life is. Everybody's life is when it happens.
Yep. Yeah, we have data to use.
Yes.
Because as we all know, when you're arguing, especially with a teenager, what do you mean? That never happened. And it's like and that's that could be a whole other episode of letting them do these things so that you can parent more effectively. And I have learned that like this is just part of the process.
If there's no natural consequence, it can still be debated.
Well,
I wouldn't have done that.
Anyways,
I would have never yelled at my brother. I would have never stomped around. I would never do that. Interesting.
As your younger sister, I can attest that that's what we did.
Exactly. So anywho, your takeaways for today.
Yeah. So I think just being dysregulated, like these things happen, and being dysregulated does not mean that you have to start spiraling, and that just because things might feel out of control, oftentimes you don't need a big overhaul. You maybe just need a reset, but you need to give yourself space. And, recognize like, oh, I'm feeling I need an overhaul. Like, is that true? And
Mhm.
really asking yourself that.
Giving yourself the space to see what is actually going on, the data, not just your feelings.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think the question for the listener is, I mean, we have many questions from today as always, but where are you immediately going into overhaul mode instead and to fix it versus just letting it be and giving it some time, like the pause, as you said, to see what's really going on? And that's it for today.
We hope you discovered something in my story.
We'll see you next time. Same sisterhood, same place.